And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk, ladies and gentlemen. That is right, Coffee Talk, where we will be discussing what is going on in the world today, reading through some news articles and having a little bit of discussion with some of the people that have joined us in the live portion. And you can find me in the live portion on YouTube on two different channels, at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University, simultaneously broadcasting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And of course, you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat, and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon, as we get ready to dive in here. And of course, I do try to read through as many of the comments as is reasonable, so that those of you who are listening and not able to see can keep up with the conversation as I chat with some of the people during the reading. I see that Dragon has joined us here today. Donna Beaver is here, who reminds us, thumbs up, like, and share if you don't mind. Much appreciated. Brian is here. Bingo is here. Boogers is here. Urban Angst. D-Lo. And Donna Beaver says they enjoyed yesterday's show and the listeners have great input. Thanks, guys. Sometimes they do, and there's a couple of people that I think they only come in here to contradict everything I say. But, you know, it is what it is. Helter is here, as is Joshua, joining us here today in the live section. And Dusty, come here, honey. You gonna come here? Hey, Dusty. Nope, Dusty's going to run away. That's all right. Dusty's not in the mood. Her brother's been teasing her today. Anyways, as we get ready to jump into what is going on in the world today, that's right. And playing into the fear-mongering today that you... yeah, Urban says I contradict the contradictions. That's right. The fear-mongering that goes on, especially in the prepper community, they love beating you down and telling you that the sky is falling. Prepper channels, in particular, love playing Chicken Little. Those are the ones that get all the views, though, unfortunately, which is probably why I don't. I don't get the views that I used to, courtesy of ScrewTube. But here's your next global disaster, courtesy of climate change. Are you ready for this one? This one's all over the news today. The Associated Press. Erratic weather fueled by climate change will worsen locust outbreaks. That's right. Get ready. Here come the locusts. Joshua said, work night shift. Normally don't catch your live stream. Love the videos. I'm surprised the government hasn't kidnapped you in an unmarked van yet. Well, that already happened to me in 2003. Some of you might remember I've talked about that plenty of times. I got black bagged by the FBI in a courthouse. And it wasn't that bad. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. But yeah, that did happen to me back in 2003. 21 years ago. Good Lord. Anyways, and here's a locust. And for those of you who aren't aware, all a locust really is a freaking grasshopper, okay? A freaking grasshopper. So let's see what they have to say about this. Extreme wind and rain may lead to bigger and worse desert locust outbreaks with human-caused climate change. That's right, human-caused. It's your fault. Likely to intensify the weather patterns and cause higher outbreak risks. A new study has found. The desert locust, a short-horned species found in some dry areas of northern and eastern Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, is a migratory insect that travels in swarms of millions over long distances and damages crops, causing famine and food insecurity. Food insecurity. Is that on my list? It better be. It better be on my list. Yeah, I got it on there. Food insecurity. Shut up. A square kilometer swarm comprises 80 million locusts that can in one day consume food crops enough to feed 35,000 people, and the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization describes it as the most destructive migratory pest in the world. The study, published in Science Advances on Wednesday, said that these outbreaks will be increasingly hard to prevent and control in a warming climate. Zhaizong He, author of the study and assistant professor at the National University of Singapore, said more frequent and severe extreme weather events due to climate change could add unpredictability to locust outbreaks, because Lord knows locust outbreaks are predictable. Give that man a Nobel Prize. Oh my God. But he hoped that the study could help countries understand and address, quote, the impacts of climate variability on locust dynamics, particularly in the context of its repercussions on agricultural productivity and food security. That doesn't sound like somebody from Singapore to me. And urged better regional and continental cooperation among countries and control organizations to respond quickly and build early warning systems. Oh my God. Let me catch up a couple of comments and I'll comment on this. Ragnar is here, says Hola. Urban Angst says locust outbreak, you say? Great news for the makers of insect patties. Yeah. And only the killer bees can save us now. Monkey says, hello, you hear Trump's hush money case in New York has been given the go-ahead, making first criminal case for a former president. Is it going to be more of pay this X amount, or is it going to be a jail sentence? They won't put him in jail because that'll open the door for all these former presidents and former big politicians to go to jail. I seriously doubt he'll end up in jail. Booger says, sounds like they're going to use locust outbreak to mess with the food supply. That could be. But first of all, we've always had as far back as history records, random massive locust swarms have turned up and caused problems. You don't have an early warning system for locusts. We're not going to, as a matter of fact, we've had fewer problems with locusts in recent years and recent decades than we have in any time in the past, because there's more control measures to prevent them. They have these blowers that they set up. I don't know if you've ever seen this on a farm. It's like big fans, and the fans blow clouds of pesticides into the air in the direction of the oncoming swarm of locusts. And that's usually how it's dealt with up until the locusts overwhelm the cloud and end up on the back end of the fans and get sucked into the intake and clog it so that the fans don't work anymore. It's really an inefficient system, but it's all they got. You can't sit there and say that climate change is going to cause that to be worse. There's no way to tell. There is no way to tell. This is more bullshit is what it is. And they're trying to scare people and link another natural phenomenon to climate change and blame the human element on it. It makes no sense. And I see Zane has joined us here today. And Helter says, and Christians will say it's the sign of end times and we need to repent. We should pay zero attention to the climate, according to the idiots who cry wolf. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you see locust in the Bible. That was a common thing, though. And it's always been a common thing. It happens all the time. And they don't just swarm overseas. They're grasshoppers. They swarm everywhere. All right? It happens all over the globe. Anyway, you can't sit there and blame that on climate change. But climate change, the concept of it is to blame national phenomenon on human occurrences. It's because of people that we have climate change. It doesn't just happen. And anything unusual, suddenly it's because of climate change and because of people causing the climate change to take place. And that's why you need an electric car. It has nothing to do with the fact that they can turn your electric car off or control where it goes. Has anybody thought of that? You realize that they can lock out certain points on a grid and that your car won't go there and you'll have to back up and turn around. And Damien is here. It says, no one knows the day or the time. People that claim to know the exact day or time. Well, that would make you a false prophet if you try to predict something and it doesn't occur, which is why in the Bible it says those people should be killed. You're supposed to dispose of someone who's a false prophet because they're deliberately misleading people. Urban says, I recall visiting in the Middle East and the weather warning included locust. At first, I chuckled until I heard something that sounded like a jet plane approaching and the damages. Yeah, absolutely. And Zane says, saw a guy loitering in the parking lot and told him to take a hike, and he started talking like a complete thug to me. And I said, okay, and went to my store and called the cops. Somebody giving you a hard time out there. Doesn't surprise me. Loiterers, can't trust them. But yeah, they're just grasshoppers. This is a natural phenomenon. It's an inconvenience to us. It's an inconvenience to us because we try to grow food and they'll eat it. They'll eat it. And that's the problem. But that's not going to increase because of climate change. Climate change it's a PR statement. It's a politically correct statement, public relations statement. It's something that you say because they used to say global warming, but now you say climate change because the climate changes all the time, and you can't deny that it does that because that's natural. Zane says that when the police showed up, he started talking like a baby and acting like he was disabled. Yeah, that's his way of getting out from under the police. Now, in the insult your intelligence news, as if this didn't insult your intelligence enough, trying to convince you climate change is going to make locust swarms bigger. You'll love this. Jumping to California. USA Today article, Representative Barbara Lee in California Senate race says that the minimum wage should be raised to $50 an hour. Oh no. Candidates vying for California's U.S. Senate seat met on stage Monday for a relatively tame second debate where California cost of living was raised as a key issue. Yeah, you already know why the cost of living is so high in California, and it's got nothing to do with people's wages. In a standout moment, Democratic Representative Barbara Lee, former mayor of Oakland, discussed a proposal to raise the federal minimum wage to $50 an hour. Excuse me. Lee joins other Democratic Representative Adam Schiff and Katie Porter and Republican Steve Garvey in what has become a tense race to fill the seat left vacant by Dianne Feinstein. She passed away back in September of 2023 at the age of 906 after being in office for more than 30 years. And accomplishing what in that 30 years, I might ask? Schiff has maintained a comfortable lead in the polls for the last few months, and a recent poll from the University of Southern California describes a deadlocked race for second place between Garvey and Porter. I don't care about that. I want to know why she thinks people should get paid $50 an hour to bag groceries. That's her right there. Barbara Lee, Democrat, California, former mayor of Oakland. And you can see how well she ran that. Lee has made little progress, breaking out of fourth place in the polls, but her stance on minimum wage still captured national attention. I bet it did. In a broadcast of the debate published by KTLA, moderator Nikki Lorenzo asked Lee about her proposal for $50 an hour federal minimum wage, pointing out the federal minimum wage is $7.25. Is it $7.25? I don't know. I don't know if that's right. The other candidates called for $20 to $50 an hour for minimum wage, Lorenzo said. Oh, so you said 20. So that guy says 25. Well, oh, okay. If you're going to say 25, well, I'm going to say $50 an hour. I double dog dare you. Quote, can you explain how that would be economically sustainable for small businesses? The moderator asked. Lee said she owned and ran a small business for 11 years. According to her website, she founded a mental health service organization called Community Health Alliance for Neighborhood Growth and Education. I know what worker productivity means, and that means that you have to make sure that your employees are taken care of and given a living wage, Lee said in the debate. Notice that she did not answer the question. Okay. She said that she had a small business and that she understands that you're supposed to take care of your employees. She doesn't explain how a $50 minimum wage is sustainable. You know why? Because it's not, and she doesn't know. Okay? It's not, and she doesn't know. Let me catch up a couple of comments here really quick. Urban's like $50 an hour. That's like $75 Canadian or something. Zane is like $50 an hour is insane. Monkey says they want 104,000 a year minimum wage. Yeah, basically. So and you know what? People still won't be satisfied. They'll be dishing out popcorn at the movie theater for $50 an hour and hate your guts and hate their job and spit in your popcorn and whatever else nasty thing they do. And Raccoon says, wasn't Steve Garvey on the Mets? I don't know. Monkey says that's good money for those not in any expensive state. And Dragon says Barbara Lee's going to be the first ever recipient of an economic sister soldier moment. And Monkey says I would be set in Ohio with that money. Yeah, those numbers make no sense. No sense. And Booger says that'll get you a $250 double cheeseburger and fries. Because there's no way that even a big business couldn't sustain that. Those numbers make no sense. She's just trying to pander to voters. Is hoping that the low information voters, as a certain someone used to say, will fall for that crap and be like, oh yeah, $50 an hour. Now we're talking, and vote for her. And then she'll be like, oh, I tried and I just can't get that pushed through because it's impossible. And she's just trumping everybody. One guy says 20, one guy says 25. Oh, I'll just jump way ahead. Never mind 30 or 35. I'll jump right to 50. Yeah, there you go. You know what it makes me? It makes me think of Cool Hand Luke when they were making bets on how many hard-boiled eggs somebody can eat. And one guy says 18, one guy says 20, and then Luke is like, I can eat 50. Wasn't it 50? I'll eat 50 hard-boiled eggs. He just jumps way ahead. And Helter says, why not 80? Why not 100? Big number is good, right? These people are clueless how business at a free market is supposed to work. Well, she claims to know because, according to her, she had a business for 11 years. And John is here. It says, seems sporty out. Hi, everyone. Glad you could make it today. Oh, my God. These numbers are incredible. And Brian says Target raised their minimum wage, then had to cut everyone's hours. Yeah, because then you can't let everybody work full time because they can't afford the benefits that are associated with it if they're going to raise your pay. And then they want to bring in more machines to do work. They got Zamboni robots cleaning the floor, and Walmart with its scanners, and they're like, oh, that just makes it easier for managers because they can do other things. No, it just eliminates another job. That's all it is. The numbers make no sense. Donna warns Brian to stay away from Target. Yeah, Target's a pretty screwed up company. I haven't been to a Target in years, actually. And Zane said the average fast food prices have gotten expensive and the food quality's gotten worse. It's like the economy is collapsing. Yeah, it sure feels that way. And Barbara's not helping. And I doubt that she's a good candidate. And she only really did that, like I said, to take advantage of voters who might think this is realistic, trying to get their vote. If they want to know if she would be a good run for the Senate, they need to look at her track history as mayor of Oakland. And I'm willing to bet it wasn't that good. I'm willing to bet. As we shift around here, we're going to jump to Atlanta. This is local news. Weirdest thing I've read in a minute. Weirdest thing, and this is WSB TV. This is, like I said, really local WSB TV news story. Atlanta-born composer says his new classical concert asks audience to look within. This is going to be a weird article. All right. He's a symphony composer. Atlanta Symphony Orchestra's latest concert is a performance with a powerful message about social justice. To many, classical music is meant to enrich. Carlos Simon says his music also has a message. No, that's not Carlos Simon there in the picture, but that's what they have. The Grammy-nominated composer and East Point native has partnered with the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. Carlos Simon curates is a new concert like no other. The program explores Black identity and it prominently features the Morehouse and Spelman College glee clubs. It's going to get weird. But Simon says, I like that. Simon says it's the concert's finale that's meant to make the audience look inside themselves. The piece is called Breadth, with a D, Breadth. It was commissioned by the Minnesota Symphony Orchestra in memory of George Floyd. Simon says it not only focuses on the tragic event of the past, but also looks to change in the future. So this guy, and reading further through this article, I I don't want to get too deep into it, but he convinced the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra to commission him for this. So he talked them into it. He's getting paid for it. He's writing a social justice composition for the orchestra, focusing on George Floyd. Oh my God. How's that supposed to work? I'm almost curious to hear it, just to see how the hell that's supposed to work and how people are supposed to get a George Floyd message out of it. Aren't people about sick and tired of George Floyd now? Everybody exploits him. Even his family exploits him. I wonder if they even actually care he's dead, and they just saw it as an opportunity to get paid. And I know that sounds terrible, but I'm serious. I wonder if these people really care. For all intents and purposes, if you really look at the man, he was a bastard. He was an evil guy. Did his family really care that he's gone? I know. I think about stuff like that. I think about stuff like that. They'd never admit it if it's true. They would never admit it. Of course not. They're getting plenty of money from that. John says, "Welcome to the freak show." No kidding. Monkey says, reminds me of the time Walmart tried to expand into Germany and Walmart failed when they had to actually follow their laws, and the laws there are more restricted with how employees are to be paid. You know what's interesting about that too? Walmart has been trying to break into, I don't think they ever managed it, been trying to break into the Japanese market forever. But in Japan, they have a rule that you can't be, if you're a huge store, you can't be within 5 miles of like small businesses. And Japan is littered with those. There's a mom and pop operation like every 5 steps in Japan. So they've never been able to break into the market, and they've been trying to lobby politicians there forever without any success. Raccoon says, ode to a criminal. And Brian says, George Floyd, Mr. Career Criminal. Yeah, no kidding. Zane says that Germany's strict on loans as well. Germany's strict about a lot of weird things too. Like if you wanted to move to another apartment, you have to get a letter of recommendation from the previous apartment before you can petition to go into the new place. Is that correct? I think I remember reading that somewhere, and that's Germany. Urban says a comedian named David Lucas just had to apologize for a George Floyd joke after activists threatened Lucas's mother. And that tells you everything you need to know. Oh, we don't like that you said something about George Floyd. We can't just voice that. We have to threaten somebody. And Monkey says humans are like vultures. When someone with riches or chances to be exposed to the media, they latch onto it until it's dried up. And Zane says you can own a CCW in Germany if you have a gun license, I found out. Okay. But I just thought this a weird local story. He's doing a social justice George Floyd symphonic concert. And I'm like, again, mind blown. You're getting paid for this? And how does that work? How does that work? That's not what I don't want to go to a concert and be preached to, no matter what kind of music it is. I want to go to enjoy the music. You see what I'm saying? I just, excuse me. I want to go and enjoy the music. Can I just do that? And Urban jokes, if only Bach and Mozart had asked us to look within. You can't just sit back and enjoy the music. No, we can't do that. And while we're on the subject of ridiculous social justice, flag waving and banner waving, we're going to talk about Jamal Bowman again. You remember Jamal, Fire Marshal Bowman? This is a Daily Caller article. Jamal Bowman launches his, quote, hip-hop power and justice task force. Thank God. I was worried that this would never happen. Jamal Bowman launches the Hip Hop Power and Justice Task Force. What the hell is that? You might ask. Oh my God. And Donna says, Fentanyl Floyd, that's a role model. I know. What an incredible role model. Because God knows you can't find a decent black role model, right? Now I sound like Brian from Family Guy. There's plenty of really amazing black role models if you want to find one. George Floyd is not it, okay? Here we go. A House Democrat announced the launch of a congressional caucus dedicated to hip-hop, power, and justice. And that was Wednesday. Oh my God. This guy is insane. All these people on this so-called squad are absolutely mind-boggling. I don't know how the hell they got their jobs. Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman of New York is a member of the Squad, a group of left-wing, very, very left, Democratic lawmakers who champion like-minded policies like the destruction of social values. On Wednesday, Bowman announced the launch of a new caucus known as the, quote, Congressional Hip-Hop Power and Justice Task Force that would seek to use hip-hop music to champion left-wing policies. Fascinating. The task force, led by Bowman, will use hip-hop messaging of building a more equitable society to help spearhead initiatives to address economic equality, affordable housing, and racial justice imperatives, wrote Bowman in a statement on Twitter, now known as X. Quote, hip-hop has always been about ending poverty in America. It has? Did I miss something? Hip-hop has always been about ending poverty in America. I never would have guessed that. About fully funding our public schools. It has always been about justice reform and police reform, Bowman told The Hill. It's always been about affordable housing and dealing with the issue of threats of violence. Is he listening to different hip-hop than I was? That doesn't sound anything like what... Hold on a second. Let me just pull some things out here. Let me look through my record stack, see if I've got a hip-hop record in here. I mean, I can't imagine that that's what hip-hop is all about. I'm pretty sure, when I was listening to it, when I was young, that, no, that's a rap album, that it was about having a good time. Like the Sugar Hill Gang comes to mind. No, I've got some rap albums in this stack, but I don't have any hip-hop ones. You know what I mean? That let me read that again. Hip-hop has always, this is a quote from Bowman, hip-hop has always been about ending poverty in America, about fully funding our public schools. You name the hip-hop album that is about funding public school. Somebody name it for me. It's always been about justice reform and police reform. You could make that argument about somebody like Public Enemy, for example. Maybe Bowman told The Hill. It's always been about affordable housing and dealing with issues of threats and violence. I want to know what I want to know what kind of hip hop music this guy's listening to. Good Lord. Let me and Zane recommends Neil deGrasse Tyson. And you shouldn't look at role models for skin for guidance. I look at the character. And exactly. I agree with that. Booger says, I don't know why you said Fire Marshal Bowman. I thought of In Living Cover when Fire Marshal Bill was way more believable. Well, because Jamal Bowman's the guy who pulled the fire alarm in Congress. That's why I said Fire Marshal Bowman. But yeah, I'm making the connection with Fire Marshal Bill from In Living Color, actually. That's what I tied together. Monkey says, gotta hip hop the leftist woke propaganda. There you go. Is he gonna rap now? Yeah, that's it. Bowman should cut a rap album. Mr. T did it. Whoever heard Mr. T's rap album? It's actually pretty bad. I have it. I have a copy. Helter says, "Oh my, this is reminding me of the Poochie episode from Simpsons. These ivory tower politicians, citizens think they know what hip and cool is." Yeah. And Dragon says, I thought Biden's Super Bowl TikTok video was bad. Democrats are so bad at politics, it's actually embarrassing. And Urban says, the more power, the less justice. And then Brian says, I didn't know singing about drugs, luxury cars, and throwing gang signs did something about poverty. Exactly. Quote again, at this moment in particular, when you consider the Black Lives Matter movement to the ceasefire movement and the fight that continues for freedom, justice, and equality, now it's time to build political power at a level that's never been done before by setting the bar as low as freaking possible. Oh my God. It goes on to say, Democrats have sought to co-opt hip-hop, which has a significant following among young people, to rally voters for left-wing causes. Oh no. It says in 2021, the Democratic-led Senate adopted a resolution declaring November to be Hip Hop History Month. Oh, this just keeps getting better. Oh my God, I could do a whole like hour episode just on this. Many hip hop and rap artists have publicly supported Democrats. Yeah, that's because that's where the money comes from. In 2016, Sean Corey Carter, known by his stage name as Jay-Z, held a concert in support of then Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, and we all see how well that went. While several came out in support of Joe Biden's candidacy during the 2020 presidential election. I remember that also, yeah, Jay-Z held the concert, and he was there, and Beyonce was there, and Hillary Clinton was also on stage. And I believe it was free. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they couldn't even fill 20% of the stadium. People didn't even come for it, and it was free. Somebody tell me if I'm mixing this up with something else. Oh my God. Monkey says they got to reference Tupac somewhere in there or it ain't hip hop. Oh my God. And Zane says, here's how hip hop dies. Yeah, they'll make rap not cool. Yeah, that's you know it was Colin Powell that killed the Macarena. I don't know if you remember the Macarena. Hey, Macarena. It was really, really popular for some reason at some point in the 90s. And I think it was at a football game. Colin Powell did it, and it just kind of faded away. It died right there. And Monkey says also, this is like companies trying to release to the younger people by using slangs and memes that are 5 to 10 years out of date. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're trying to cash in on what they think is popular, and they're going to do something really stupid and embarrassing. It doesn't count. It doesn't count unless Bowman actually raps. And it closes out the article by reminding us that Bowman has faced significant criticism following his triggering a fire alarm in the Cannon House office building on September 30th. And he pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of doing so and was censored by the House of Representatives, which means nothing at all. It means nothing at all, because if you or I did that, we would be facing a 3 to 5 year prison sentence. I don't care if he got $1,000 fine and had to write a letter of apology to the chief of police. It's insulting. It's absolutely insulting that he got away with that. So he will forever be Fire Marshal Bowman to me. I should put that on a t-shirt. People keep telling me I should do t-shirts. I don't know how to get into that. I don't know how to commission for that. Maybe somebody can tell me or send me a message. Excuse me. This is about the stupidest thing I've seen in a long time. It really is. This is the stupidest thing I've seen in a long time. And I can't believe it got congressional approval. Congressional, where's the title again? This is, here it is. Congressional Hip Hop Power and Justice Task Force. And they got to give it this lengthy, stupid name, too. Incredible. Urban said even Ben Shapiro can rap better than Bowman. You know who's a good rapper? Weird Al Yankovic. When he did White and Nerdy, he was more on cue and kept better time than the person that rapped the original song. It's kind of surprising. You got this 50-something-year-old white guy who sings my Corona. Was it my did he do My Sharona? I don't remember now. Monkey says maybe he should include how he pulled the fire alarm doing his little hip hop music. Yeah, he could rap about how he bucked the law and got away with it, because he sure as hell did. That is absolutely the most ridiculous thing I have seen all day. Or is it? But wait, folks, there's more. You get more bang for your buck. More bang for your buck. Oh my God. Urban says Weird Al improved on most songs. Like, what was it? Amish Paradise. He redid. You know, the funny thing, the controversy, I know going down a rabbit hole here, but since it came up, because this is something that bothers me, and I wonder if anyone else knew this. He did Amish Paradise. Coolio had done Gangster's Paradise, which Amish Paradise is a parody of. Coolio, after the fact, acted a fool and acted all pissed off and pretended like he was angry about it. Pretended, because he had already been consulted. Everything was explained to him, and he got a fat check before Al even got started. Because Al is very P's and Q's with that. You know, he dots every I, crosses every T when it comes to the music, so he doesn't get in trouble. So Coolio knew full well what he was going to do, but he had to keep his street cred and whine about it. And whine about a song that's not even his. Who knows this? Look up Stevie Wonder's catalog. He has a song called Future Paradise. Play the two next to each other. You can't even tell the difference between them, except for where Coolio says gangster instead of future. Seriously, look it up. Stevie Wonder, Future Paradise. Coolio didn't change a damn thing, except that the bass is a little higher. Seriously. And I'm like, how did that work out? How did that happen? And you have the nerve to complain? Zane says Weird Al is such a cool guy, he didn't even make a single Prince parody. Not that he didn't try. He petitioned Prince on a few different occasions for 2 or 3 different songs, and Prince refused. Look it up. Prince refused it. Told him no. And Michael Jackson refused him once, and that was Black or White. He wanted to do a parody of It Doesn't Matter If It's Black or White, And Michael didn't want him to do it because for him that was more of a political song. He wanted to do the parody, I believe it was "It Doesn't Matter If You Snack All Night." He was going to do another food parody. But anyways, as I had promised, you thought that insulted your intelligence. Get ready for this one. We're going to talk Fox News article, talk about Rachel Dolezal. You remember Rachel Dolezal, don't you? The NAACP leader who was pretending to be black. Who remembers poor Rachel? She's in the news again. She's in the news again because she's lost another job. And by the way, she's still telling people she's black, just in case you were wondering. She's in. Oh, I like how the thing there says "big white lie." Excuse me. She's in the news again. Rachel Dolezal, former Spokane NAACP chapter head who faked being black, loses teaching job over her OnlyFans page. Former Spokane NAACP president Nikeshi Diallo, better known as Rachel Dolezal, a white woman who identifies as black, has been fired from a teaching job in Arizona. Dolezal, 46, was employed as an after-school instructor with the Catalina Foothills School District in Tucson, but lost her job at Sunrise Drive Elementary after local news station KVOA revealed she had posted explicit material on her OnlyFans page. Quote, "We only learned of Miss Nikshti Diallo's OnlyFans social media posts yesterday afternoon. Her posts are contrary to our district's use of social media by district employees policy and our staff ethics policy. She is no longer employed by the Catalina Foothills School District," according to Julie Fairbank, the district director of alumni and community relations, told KVOA on Wednesday. I guess the school district wasn't paying her enough. Oh my God. Urban says if a 50-year-old male swimmer can pretend to be a teenage girl, why can't a white woman pretend to be black? Because that's crossing the line. That's crossing the line, Urban. Maybe she could get away with it in Canada. Have her move to Canada and get a job there. And Zane wants to know, who is this lady? She was an NAA. She claimed to be black. You see how black she looks in the picture, if you can see. Not hardly at all. The frizzy hair doesn't count. Plenty of people have white people have hair like that. And she had positioned herself into being a chapter head for the NAACP. She had a pretty good position with them until they figured out somehow, hey, this woman's not black at all, and lost her job, and she got national attention. It explains here. Dolezal made national headlines in 2015 after her claim of being African American was debunked by her own parents, who said she was Czechoslovakian, German, and Swedish ancestry. She resigned as the head of her local NAACP chapter in Spokane, Washington, amid the controversy, and was dismissed from her position as an instructor for African studies at Eastern Washington University. Oh my God. Because, black people aren't good enough to do that. You have to have a white person pretending to be black. Oh my God. Dragon says the ironic thing is that by exposing her page, now more students than ever will view her material. Yeah. And Monkey said, did any black people actually call her racist for black facing? I have no idea. I have no idea. I just know that there was that whole big fiasco in the news, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because you can look at her. I mean, granted, there are people who are pretty. Let me pause that. There you go. For those of you who can see, that's her before and after the frizzy hair. I mean, all she did was get a mild, it's not even a dark tan. She's got a mild tan and her hair is frizzy and somehow she's black now. I mean, they just took her word for it. Oh, you're black enough. Here, work for the NAACP. Why don't you? Oh man. Helter says, who in their right mind would be willing to pay good money to see her OnlyFans? I looked at some of the leaked photos and she doesn't look lascivious at all. I don't know. I don't know how many followers she has. I wonder if it says in here anywheres. I wonder. Oh, and also here's an additional snippet that's interesting. In 2019, Dolenzal reached a settlement with the state of Washington, which had accused her of welfare fraud, and she was required to pay restitution and complete 120 hours of community service. I didn't know about the welfare fraud. And also, it goes on to say she still claims to be black. That she still claims to be black. I don't know how many people she has on OnlyFans. I'm looking to see if it says. I don't see it. It says that the OnlyFans started out with like gym fitness squats and hair conversations and things like that. But in the years since, Dolenzal has posted explicit content on OnlyFans, which KVOA reported and shared with their public websites. And I don't, I've never seen OnlyFans, and I don't know if there's a way to look it up without being a member, because I would be curious to know exactly how many followers she actually has. Oh my God. I would be curious at this point, considering. See, here's another picture of her. And I've seen some very light-skinned, mixed people, and that could look like that, I suppose. But if you're not, why fake it? We're in a place now in the world where we have adults playing neighborhood of make-believe as part of their lifestyle. Just be who the hell you are. You would have been fine. She worked at a university. She obviously has some degree or some level of intelligence. She could have taught a different class and not pretend to be black. She didn't have to work for the NAACP. It doesn't make any sense. Monkey says, college football players that are known to go to the NFL take easy majors like African American studies or any studies majors to get an easy A for NCAA regulations and grades. And Zane says they remember the polite word someone used for welfare fraud is be poor on paper. Yeah. And Urban says the ESC or Endometrius South Coast has appointed a transmogrified person as their new CEO. The company is now attacking all the transphobes that are questioning why biological male would be chosen. I have no idea. I don't think I've heard that. I don't think I've heard about that. But, I can't keep track of everything, and I'm not going to pretend like I can. As we bounce around here, we're going to talk about the dreaded C virus, ladies and gentlemen. Did you get your shot? Have you gotten your 36th booster yet? Have you started growing that third arm? You haven't had enough boosters until you start sprouting tentacles. Okay, this is an ABC News article. C virus patients are 4.3 times more likely to develop chronic fatigue, according to the CDC. Oh, I see. So if you catch a virus, you might be fatigued. I never would have seen that one coming. Never would have seen that coming. C virus patients are at least 4 times more likely to develop chronic fatigue than someone who has not had the virus, a new federal study published Wednesday suggests. Researchers from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and you know how reliable they are, looked at electronic health records from the University of Washington of more than 4,500 patients with confirmed C virus between February 2020 and February 2021. They were followed for a median of 11.4 months, and their health data was compared with the data of more than 9,000 non-C virus patients with similar characteristics. Fatigue developed in 9% of the C virus patients, the team found. Among C virus patients, the rate of new cases of fatigue was 10.2 per 100 person years, and the rate of new cases of chronic fatigue was 1.8 per 100 person years. Person years is a type of measurement that multiplies the number of people in a study and the amount of time each person spends in the study, and it is useful for evaluating risk. I'm glad they explained that because I don't know if I've heard that term. Compared with non-C virus patients, those who had tested positive were 68% at risk of fatigue and were 4.3 times more likely to develop chronic fatigue in the follow-up period, the study found. I have a question, and I'm not seeing it in here. I'm skimming ahead. It goes on to tell you there's no strong evidence of racial or ethnic differences when it comes to developing fatigue. Okay. Additionally, researchers found patients with C virus who developed fatigue after the infection had far worse outcomes, such as hospitalization or death, than patients without fatigue. Here's my question. Of those tested, how many had a vaccination? I think that should be a factor, because I'm willing to bet that a lot of those people, if they're involved in a study or if they were hospitalized for it, got talked into or decided on their own to get a vaccination and probably a booster too. And I wonder how many of those chronic fatigue people took the shot. That would be my question. Urban says sprouting tentacles is not far from the truth. Morticians are increasingly alarmed by white calamari-like structures found in cadaver veins and arteries that are pulled out during the embalming. Yeah, you mentioned that before, which I haven't seen that. If I find an article on it, I'll bring it up, but I have not seen that. Again, that's my main question here on this particular subject. How many of those patients took a shot? That's what I would want to know. And you're probably going to have chronic fatigue after recovering from an illness if you're really sick. Also, keeping in mind that the main targets for not just the C virus, but any of those types of illnesses with flu-like symptoms primarily affect elderly patients. And there's no spectrum in here that I can see that explains the age range of the individuals that were used for the study. What was the age range? Was everybody in this study over 60? Was it a grouping of people from different age ranges or just one age range? And also keeping in mind that the C virus, the annual flu, whatever comes up, typically affects elderly people for no other reason than the fact that they're majority unhealthy. They don't eat properly. They don't exercise. They often are on a lot of medications. That all affects your health greatly. Zane says most of the people I know who died from C were never vaccinated, and they don't have chronic fatigue. They run a mile a day. I don't know anybody who died from it. I hear that from time to time. Oh, I know people that died from it. I don't know anybody who died from it. I don't know anybody who knows anyone who died from it personally. I've heard people say that in comments and stuff, but I've, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. And in case you were wondering about the job situation in America, apparently we need mass uncontrolled immigration. According to Newsweek, America is facing a workforce crisis and immigration is the answer. Okay. For years, the immigration conservation in Washington has centered around border security. A strong and secure border is essential. There is no disagreement. But if Congress doesn't act to fix our broken immigration system, we're putting the American economy at a disadvantage for decades to come. How so? Because America is facing a workforce crisis. Our economy added an unprecedented 7.5 million jobs over the last 2 years. But across critical sectors, from agriculture to healthcare to small businesses, there simply aren't enough workers to fill open positions. In fact, last month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed there are more than 9 million open jobs and just 6 million unemployed workers. Now, I'm going to stop right there because I'm already going to pick this apart. I'm just going to get started right away. In the last 2 years, 7.5 million jobs were opened up because we were locked down and those jobs were closed. Closing those jobs down because of the C virus and then giving those jobs back to us is not introducing new jobs. So that's not true, okay? Secondly, I have a hard time believing that there aren't enough people to fill the jobs. Maybe there aren't enough people willing to do the work, but there's plenty enough people here already to do the jobs that are out there, okay? And according to labor statistics, it says there are 9 million open jobs, which there's no way for them to know exactly how many jobs are available, and 6 million unemployed workers. Are there 6 million unemployed workers, or did you have 6 million workers fall off of unemployment claims? Because that's where those numbers typically come from. Yeah. Worker shortages harm businesses by limiting growth and competitiveness, and that's passed along to consumers with inflated costs for goods and services. And these issues aren't going away anytime soon. As the baby boomer generation reaches retirement age and fewer young people enter the workforce, America's working age population is expected to shrink in the coming years. Yeah, that's why they're replacing us all with robots. Congress has the duty and the opportunity to build our future workforce by finally fixing our broken immigration system. Our broken immigration system is broken because we have people pouring into our border that we can't afford to take care of. And even giving them work permits, they can't find jobs. Brian says if you died from anything during the pandemic, it was counted as a C virus death. They did tack that onto a lot of things that wasn't necessary. Zane says job crisis caused by bad economy and poor living standards. And Urban says maybe they can't fill the jobs because they don't pay them a minimum wage of $50. Yeah, I know. Crank that minimum wage up to $50. People will work until they have enough to retire, which won't take long, and then they'll quit. That's what'll happen. That's ridiculous. There's plenty of jobs. Like I said, people may be unwilling to do them. They may not want to. The whole pandemic didn't help. People got a check for nothing. A lot of people quit jobs when they didn't have to. To some people, getting a big $3,000 check, some people were getting 300 or 3,000, 3,500, whatever the hell it was, 32. I don't remember exactly. Never held that much money in their life. And they're like, I don't need to work. That's what happened. And like I said, you took the jobs away. You shut businesses down. And then gave the jobs back. And then claimed that you added jobs to the market. Those were jobs that were already there that you were restricting. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. And it's dishonest to look at it that way. But with that, I don't have any felines in the room. Sorry, feline-less. No cats. No cats today. No cat for you. 2 weeks. We'll go ahead and start wrapping things up. Again, this is Coffee Talk, so you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find me on YouTube. Please do, if you don't mind, at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University on YouTube, as well as at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget Fistful of Radio. That is fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. So thanks to everybody who had the opportunity to join us here today. Hope you all got something out of the conversation. And with that, we will sign off and we will see you again tomorrow.